In 1615, within a secluded mountain dojo, an aging master challenged his student, Tishi, with a riddle about facing 10 enemies at once. When Tishi confidently claimed he would defeat them all, the master corrected him, explaining that focusing on the 10th opponent ensures defeat by the first. This lesson illustrated the core samurai paradox. True victory stems from absolute presence rather than mere technique. Despite 5 years of flawless physical training, Tishi suffered from paralyzing fear and overthinking, causing his skill to crumble under pressure. His mind was constantly scattered across potential failures and the judgments of others, leaving him a man of form but no fire. When Tishi finally asked for his warrior's test, Master Yamamoto demonstrated that technical readiness is meaningless without a unified spirit. He ordered Tishi to strike him, but the boy froze, hiding his fear of failure behind the excuse of honor. The master exposed this deception, noting that Tieshi's spirit was divided among 10 distractions instead of being focused on the single moment. This ancient principle serves as a mirror for modern life, where we often lose our battles because we are everywhere except the present. Yamamoto's final command was for Tishi to stop being a ghost with a polished technique and to find his center, proving that the ultimate weapon is not the sword, but a mind that refuses to be moved from the here and now. That night, sleep remained out of reach for Tishi. Bathed in the pale moonlight of his quarters, he weighed the past 5 years, the relentless discipline and the physical toll he had endured. He realized his failure wasn't a lack of strength, but a fractured mind. The master's words, "Your mind is in 10 places," resonated with painful accuracy. Whether in combat or contemplation, he was always chasing the outcome, fearing the loss, and obsessing over his image rather than inhabiting the reality of the moment. As dawn broke, he vowed to find the missing piece of his soul. The next morning brought a surprise as Yamamoto-sensei replaced sword drills with a day of cleaning. The students spent hours in manual labor, a task Tishi initially dismissed as a distraction from his training. However, as he mindlessly swept, he noticed the master. Yamamoto moved with a profound, singular focus. His sweeping was not a chore, but a meditation. Every stroke was complete and intentional. When asked what he had learned, Tishi guessed it was about hygiene, but the master simply led him to a scroll bearing the characters for Shoshin, the beginner's mind. Yamamoto explained that a beginner's mind is free from the burden of expectation and the fear of failure. Unlike Tishi, a novice is fully present because they have no result to obsess over. They only see the grip and the stance. Sitting in Seiza, Tishi finally confessed his truth. His mind was always one step ahead of his body, sweeping while thinking of swords, and sparring while worrying about tests. Yamamoto's verdict was clear. Tishi was failing because he was never actually where his body was. He was always one step removed from reality, and until he closed that gap, he would never truly be a samurai. The master's words carried the weight of absolute truth. A samurai's true weapon is not his blade, but his presence. He introduced Tishi to the concepts of Zanshin, lingering awareness, Fudoshin, immovable mind, and Mushin, no mind, all of which converge on a single point, being entirely in the present. Yamamoto instructed Tishi to transform every mundane act, eating, walking, and training, into a practice of absolute attention. When Tishi asked how long this would take, the master replied that it depended entirely on his own commitment, whether it took a day or a lifetime. Tishi began his internal work that night. Sitting in meditation, he faced a barrage of intrusive thoughts and anxieties. Each time his mind wandered toward failure or doubt, he gently pulled it back to his breath, finding this mental discipline far more grueling than any physical drill. The first week was a struggle against his own impatience. His mind rebelled, screaming that he was falling behind while his peers advanced. However, by the second week, he experienced a profound breakthrough. For a few fleeting seconds, his mental chatter vanished, leaving a vivid, silent awareness of the world around him. This glimpse of presence changed everything. He began to inhabit every action. The sound of the broom became his universe, and every grain of rice was experienced fully. Modern neuroscience explains this transformation through the deactivation of the default mode network, DMN, which is responsible for rumination and anxiety about the past and future. By anchoring himself in the now, Tishi was physically strengthening his prefrontal cortex and dampening the amygdala, his brain's fear center. This internal rewiring bore fruit during a sparring session with Kenji, a high-ranking warrior. Instead of being paralyzed by Kenji's reputation, Tishi moved with instinctive, fluid grace. He wasn't fighting in the traditional sense. He was responding with immediate awareness, allowing the battle to flow through him rather than struggling against it. The change was so evident that even Kenji noticed the difference. That evening, Yamamoto-sensei announced that Tishi's final test would occur the following day. Though a surge of fear momentarily appeared, Tishi did not cling to it. He simply returned to the present and accepted the challenge with a truthfulness he had never felt before. He was finally ready, not because his technique had improved, but because his mind had finally arrived. Drawing from the wisdom of Miyamoto Musashi and the Hagakure, Tishi learned that true mastery lies in Mushin, no mind, and Fudoshin, immovable mind. These concepts teach a warrior to maintain a flowing mind that doesn't fixate on fear or outcomes. By accepting mortality, the samurai neutralizes the amygdala's paralyzing grip, allowing presence to become a conscious choice rather than a reaction. The day of the final examination arrived in the dojo courtyard. Tishi stood with a wooden balkan against Yamamoto-sensei's razor-sharp steel katana. This disparity was meant to test spirit over steel. As the master settled into a lethal kamae stance, the old Tieshi would have been consumed by a what-if loop of fear. Instead, the new Tieshi took a breath and anchored himself in the sensory reality of the moment, the earth under his feet and the rustle of bamboo. The duel began with a probing strike from Yamamoto. Tishi's body responded without a plan, pivoting instinctively as the steel hissed past. Throughout the fight, Tishi flowed through high slashes and low sweeps, his body moving before his intellect could interfere. He wasn't trying to win. He was simply existing between breaths. Even when the master offered a deceptive opening, a trap that usually ensnares desperate students, Tishi's Zenshin, remaining awareness, allowed him to see the truth. He held his ground, prompting Yamamoto to lower his sword and declare him a samurai. Yamamoto later explained that while Tieshi had mastered the tool of the sword, he had finally acquired the true weapon. presence. However, to transition from warrior to master, Tishi had to leave the dojo for the ancient monastery on Mount Koya. Upon arrival, the head monk, Master Ikkyu, stripped him of his pride and his blades. "Leave your swords at the gate," Ikkyu commanded, informing the young warrior that his next stage of training was not about combat, but about learning the profound simplicity of just sitting. Tishi's year on Mount Koya was a grueling immersion into the void. Without the familiar weight of his sword, he spent months in zazen, enduring physical pain and a mental battlefield where his ego screamed about wasted time. Master Ikkyu's wooden staff served as a constant reminder to return to the now. By the second month during walking meditation, Tishi realized that presence isn't about silencing thoughts, but about refusing to be governed by them. He learned to observe his anxieties like passing clouds, breaking their grip on his spirit. As his practice deepened from months 3 through 6, Tishi discovered the layers of presence. Focus on a task, the silence between thoughts, and finally, the original mind, an unchanging awareness undisturbed by external chaos. In the 7th month, his trial moved from the meditation hall to the world. Ikkyu sent him unarmed to a village terrorized by 5 ronin. Tieshi's old ego briefly surfaced, thirsting for glory, but he quickly noted the thought and returned to center. His objective was not just to defeat bandits, but to remain present amidst the threat of death. At the village, Tishi faced Katsuru and his men without armor or weapons. His profound stillness and lack of fear unsettled the hardened marauders. When Katsuru questioned his intent, Tishi spoke to him, warrior to warrior, reminding the fallen samurai that his honor was not lost, but merely sleeping beneath his grief. Tishi offered a choice between violence and reclaiming their true nature. When one bandit lunged, Tishi remained so utterly still and void of aggression that the attacker froze, unable to strike a target that offered no resistance. Moved by this demonstration of absolute presence, Katsuru surrendered. He realized that Tieshi possessed a strength that transcended physical combat. The encounter ended with the bandits leaving in peace, and Katsuru seeking out Master Ikkyu to find his own path back to wholeness. Tishi had successfully moved from the presence found in conflict to the presence that dissolves it entirely, proving that there are no broken men, only those who have drifted from their own center. The village was liberated not by steel, but by a mind that refused to fragment. Back on Mount Koya, Tishi shared his realization with Master Ikkyu. Presence is the ultimate weapon because it transforms rather than defeats. By being a mirror, Tishi allowed the bandits to see their own lost honor and the futility of their violence. Ikkyu confirmed this as the secret of legends. True mastery is not about winning the battle, but about being entirely within the moment of each step on the 1,000-mile road. Tishi finally grasped that when one is truly present, the conflict dissolves. He understood that Shoshin, beginner's mind, is the ability to see every moment as new. Zanshin, remaining awareness, is the perpetual mindfulness of life, and Fudoshin, immovable mind, is an internal equilibrium that no external storm can shake. These principles, once learned through the sword, now governed his every breath. He was no longer a dealer of death, but a guardian of life through presence. With the circle closing, Tishi returned to his original dojo to pass on the flame, transitioning from student to teacher. 10 years later, Tishi sat before a young, anxious student who dreamed of becoming the greatest swordsman in Japan. Smiling at his own reflection, Tishi pointed to the Shoshin scroll. He explained that there is no future moment of greatness. There is only the current moment and the next. He taught the boy that presence is the weapon that makes a warrior free. When the student admitted his confusion, Tishi handed him a broom. The training began not with a sword, but with the simple, deliberate act of sweeping. As he watched the boy struggle with impatience, Tishi saw the cycle continuing. The way of the samurai was revealed once more, not as a path of violence or domination, but as a journey of being fully alive, fully aware, and completely here,